And Alexander wept because there was no more world left to conquer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast today. Long-time Hughie Mark, big supporter of Irish politics. Glenn Gilberti, the greatest heel in wrestling today, Disco Inferno. How the fuck are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm a fan of Irish politics.
Yeah.
Why am I a fan of Irish politics?
Well, I've got a list of Irish politicians here that you're a big fan of. You might
Who
know
are
them.
they? Let me hear some of them.
There's Ray Pist. He's the babyface sexual assaulter.
Okay.
We've got Luke Kimia. He's the heel Roman Reigns troll.
Okay, so these are all parody politicians.
No, these are real people, and
I don't think so. It does not sound like real people. Leukemia was actually one of the jobbers that I created that was left on the cutting room floor in the booking meetings at WCW.
Well, I heard that there was a tag team you tried to pitch, and it was the first ever intergender tag team, and it was Lou and Anita Skunt.
No, that's not my idea. That was probably Terry Taylor.
Well, here's one. Let's see if you can help me with this. The surname is Oakham.
Okay.
And the first name is Icewall.
Oswald Oakham?
No, the first name is Icewall.
Icewall Oakham?
Oh, you swallow cum!
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, let's get on with it. I'm one of those creative control boys. But of course, Disco, the big news at the minute that's on the news, well, in the wrestling world, is Dean Ambrose did an interview with Jericho, who owes you that apology, by the way. I think it's disgusting he hasn't apologized.
I agree.
So the big news is that Ambrose is saying all this shit, or should I say Johnny Moxley, about Vince never did this, and Vince said this, and of course, believe it or not, all the trolls instantly believe him without any sort of backup. So what is it like for you as someone that actually works in the industry, that the marks think that they know more about than the actual industry workers?
Well, I just think it's funny that everybody's that there's no pushback on Dean Ambrose. That just shows you how the echo chamber in wrestling today is so prominent, that the online fans are so unified mostly in their belief system that nobody's pushing back on Dean Ambrose, especially after he did the Austin podcast. And the Austin podcast, he just lied right to the guy. You could see Austin getting visibly upset because he knew that Ambrose was working him. Like, if you go back and watch that podcast, it's like, the guy's just lying through his teeth to the guy. And you can see Austin, but all of a sudden now it's like Dean's doing a talk as Jericho because everybody loves AEW and WWE's terrible. It's just like there's no pushback on anything he's saying. They're just like, this is gospel. I don't know. I just think there should be more scrutiny involved.
I think that the problem is that people are so obsessed with being anti-WWE that Shane McMahon could say Vince slaughters unicorns, and the nerds would go, I knew it! I knew Vince did that! And they just think there's nothing to back up what Dean Ambrose said.
Plus, the marks are like, this is the biggest thing the marks don't understand. And then this is the part of the echo chamber stuff, is they think that that wrestlers, if they can script their own interviews, the show would be much better. Okay, and that might be true, but at some point these guys have to show a history of cutting good promos to begin with before you start talking about you need creative freedom. Because my whole thing is you sit there these guys, you see them cut promos, okay, but actually you don't see them cut promos. They cut their own promos, and they're not that good. Because let's be honest, Vince McMahon would be giving creative freedom to guys that were cutting good promos or could cut good promos. So I'm not saying that the scripted lines they're giving them are any good because they're terrible, but the alternative, there's been really no proof that any of the like Dean Ambrose or anything. I mean, Dean's cut a few good promos before, but it's not like, this guy's like Austin or The Rock out there. You know what I'm saying? So these guys are talking about like, if we had free, we try to rewrite promos. Like, okay, but like, how do we know some of the stuff that has not been rewritten, and they're out there like they changed the promo themselves? They did it. It was still terrible. It's like, I mean, there's this whole thing. The reason everybody hates WWE is because wrestler Joey Janela talked about this. This is like and this is kind of like how the wrestling fans are these days. Is that everybody's one big happy family right now in wrestling? Like all the wrestlers are in it together. They're a family. They're taking pictures with each other after they're out of character. They're doing all this and the fans like that because they're being just like them on social media and stuff and everything. And it's like everybody's all happy and there's one big happy family and everything. So since everybody's all in this together, the fans, the boys, and the wrestlers are kind of like the marks too. So everything. You have to find an antagonist, and the antagonist is the WWE. That like all these people would be, wrestling would be as popular as it was back in the Attitude Era if it wasn't for WWE scripting bad promos. Like, and you look at the roster, like you look at these guys that wrestle on Raw, AEW, like all the Ring of Honor everywhere. And I'm sorry if you grew up watching the Attitude Era, like watching during the period of time when it's saying these guys are all be mid carders. Like there's not a lot of top. We're trying to pretend that there's a lot of top guys in wrestling. There's not. There's like hardly any top guys in wrestling anymore, like big stars.
Except currently on Impact in the feud with Tessa Blanchard. Am I right?
I'm not even a big star. I'm just a guy that knows. Like here's the thing. This is the funniest thing about what I'm doing on Impact is that. There's conversations, there's telephone conversations that you have with people. You run stuff by each other, and you come up with an idea. Yeah, let's do that, right? And so I go on TV, and I'm just getting like the way I look at like the stuff I'm doing in Impact. I'm a part-time performer. I've got a job, and I make pretty good money in my job. So I'm never going to quit my job to get back into wrestling. Okay, I'll still do wrestling, but my income and my job and the fact that it's such an easy job, I can't quit that. It's like, I could probably wrestle full time and make a little bit more money than I'm doing right now, but the wear and tear on my body would be ridiculous. But so I can do part-time stuff. But when I look at the stuff that like I do on Impact, these are like challenging situations that like not a lot of guys would agree to do. And the way I look at when I'm a performer, I'm given a script. I'm given something to do. I'm told what to do. I'm getting paid to do it. So I'm just trying to do whatever I do the best I possibly can. Okay, and I know, like, I can try things to get heat because I see what other people aren't doing, and I just know what to do. I'm a professional. So, I look at like the stuff I do. I don't look at it as like some great, incredible stuff I'm doing or. I'm the best heel in the business. I just look at I'm looking at the climate of wrestling fans today and the wrestling media and the wrestling social media. To me, it's a very easy fan base to trigger. They're very easy to piss off. It's simplistic. It's like so easy, and I go out and I do it, and it's like I get all this heat, and I'm like, everybody should be watching what I'm doing and saying like, hey, it is this easy to get heat. You have to be able to embrace the fact that people don't like you. And it shouldn't bother you that people don't like you because they don't like your character. And I think a lot of guys today in wrestling, I think a lot of fans that they don't like not being liked. Everybody wants to be liked because we are one big happy family in wrestling. Everybody's all happy, and so it's like being disliked is kind of like look frowned upon. Like, well, the wrestling needs heels. The reason there's not a lot of baby faces today, and there's not a lot of over baby faces, is because over the past 10 years, there haven't been any really good heels for them to beat, to elevate them to the next level. Because, like, who hated people out? Like, who have these guys gone over that was like a really big heel that really got them to the next level? And like you look, it's like I can't recall a situation where it's happened where a dastardly strong heel got beat by a baby face and took that baby face to the next level. Is because nobody knows how to be disliked anymore. Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody's like, so you're not, the baby faces are not advancing because they're not beating anybody that people don't like. Everybody likes the heels and the baby faces now. So it's like, it's a weird, wrestling's a very weird paradigm right now. And it's, I don't know. I just see it as it's a very easy business right now to heel in. Okay, and it's shocking to me that people have not embraced that.
But with Ambrose, it's really a case of he can cut all the promos he wants, but the fact is, in the ring, he stinks. And
I wouldn't say he stinks. I'd say he's typical of your. He's typical of like your indie darling. That like me, he got a lot of pub on the indies. Steve Regal liked him at NXT or the power. Like Regal liked him, so if Regal likes you, you get that endorsement from the wrestling community of the fans and stuff. Oh, he must be great, because Regal likes him. But I wouldn't say he stinks. I just don't think he's not a game changer. His work is not like his punches look terrible. I mean, he doesn't he still has a lot of details in his work that are not good.
He's not a game changer. He's a channel changer.
I wouldn't say he's a channel. He cuts. You know what he does pretty well? For a guy that talks fast, he cuts a pretty good promo for a fast talker. Like a lot of wrestlers have to cut their promos and like speak very fluently, so they don't stumble over the words. He could cut a good promo sometimes when he's talking fast, which is difficult to do for most guys. I'll give him that.
But see, for me as a legitimate NWO member, I think that when it comes to Ambrose's fucking promos, walking around in a circle and pacing about isn't going to make shit content seem better.
Well, he looks like he's trying to act like a crazy guy instead of actually being like a guy that's kind of crazy. To me, he just comes across as an introvert. A very quiet, like his character should be more like Raven as opposed to Brian Pillman, which is like they tried to make him out of. He's not a convincing Brian Pillman type crazy guy. He's a convincing Raven type crazy guy because he's kind of an introvert. Doesn't seem like he seems like a little socially awkward, kind of like, he's, what I'm saying? So I think that would suit his character better.
I think he needs to embrace his receding hairline and become the Nicolas Cage.
Well, he's wrestling Joey Janela coming up, and Joey Janela is the better worker out of those two.
Yeah,
I think Joey Janela is far more entertaining than Dean Ambrose is.
Do you think that nickname he had, the Lunatic Fringe, was a rib on the fact that his hairline was receding?
No, I never thought of that, but it's possible. But the Lunatic Fringe, he never came across as a lunatic to me.
Yeah.
I mean, a lunatic does crazy things. He just kind of did things where he looked like he was like acting crazy for the cameras. That's what it looked like to me.
Well, speaking of crazy, I think it's fair to say you're one of the more infamous / controversial podcasters out there. And regardless of what the critics want to say, you're a podcasting draw. So have you ever thought of starting your own solo podcast called The Last Dance with Glenn Gilberti?
No, I've not.
That could be pretty...
I don't like I like doing it with I like interaction as opposed to doing it by myself. I could probably do it myself. I mean, if Mark Madden can do 3 hours of sports talk every day, I can do a 1 hour podcast by myself, I'm sure. But I like doing it with Conan. I like doing it with Vince. Like, I'd have to do too much work to do my own podcast. It seems like, prepping and stuff. I just like showing up and, just getting into discussion
and stirring it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I got one of the things I love about Keeping the 100, or as I call it, the Disco Inferno show. You always love to give off about social justice warriors, and I hate those cunts. And recently, their latest target has been Quentin Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta say, what do you think about the fact that now, despite the fact that he wrote things like Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill 1 and 2, Jackie Brown, that now the social justice warriors are going after him for sexism, because apparently in his new film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that Wolf of Wall Street girl doesn't speak much.
Right. Well, that was, I mean, you can extrapolate that into a bigger issue, but that was news because one woman asked him the question. and maybe she represents like more people that are thinking the same way, but I didn't look at that. It was a typical social justice. Like it was a typical question that an ignorant person would ask. Why did you not give a female more speaking lines when she's such a great actress? It's like, I mean, like you're trying to tell the guy, like you're trying to give the guy a guideline to write his stories. Like there needs to be like implications, like equality in the stories now. And the women, like, well, what if she's quiet? What if the character doesn't talk that much? It's like, so what you do then? That's sexist to write a female character into not talking that much. Like, what if she's just a quiet person? It's so ridiculous. So some of the things that SJWs can come up with, some of the criticisms are just illogical. And it's fascinating that the opinions of these people are shared by so many. Like there's so many people that just don't have any logic in their discussions whatsoever, and they gravitate towards a belief system that does not have a lot of that doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think it's fascinating if you look at it really.
The thing that I found about Quentin Tarantino is that apparently he made a point of using less N-word in this film, right. And so the fact that he tried to say, all right, we don't have to say the N-word, all right, but let's have the woman not talk, okay? And this has got now them all triggered because from not being racist, it's offensive to women.
Right. It's like I said, the positions don't really have a lot of logic in them. They're trying to make up stories where they don't really exist. You're trying to make it like what they're trying to do is they take people and they try to give an example of something that they did that will make people look at them in a negative way. That's what these SJWs try to do. They try to make it like, oh, Quentin Tarantino, the woman doesn't talk a lot in this movie. He must be sexist. So it's just that doesn't really jibe a lot because like there's not a lot of facts to back that up. You're trying to make like a false equivalency, like trying to take a detail in the movie and trying to extrapolate that into like meaning something like a bigger picture, like he's racist or he's sexist. It just doesn't make it. You gotta at some point when you accuse people of this, you have to show evidence to prove it. Well, and that's not what we don't see on social media. A lot of accusations, a lot of people agreeing with the accusations, and not a lot of time being put into proving the accusations, and then that's what you see from the social justice warriors.
Well, speaking of social justice warriors, and of course you have Italian heritage, which clearly means you are in the mafia, and there's no denying it. Speaking of the mafia, in 2020 we're getting a film adaptation, or should I say film prequel, to one of the greatest ever TV shows, The Sopranos, and you're probably related to those characters in real life due to where you're from. So the big feeling I have, and there's a few people have online, is that this film, which is called New York, is going to be all social justice warrior and woke because you couldn't do The Sopranos in 2019. So even though New York's set in the race riots of the 60s, it's probably going to have transgender mafia members, black guys, strong women characters, lesbians, and did I say black guys?
Yes.
Yes. So
well, I'll tell you what. If you did, the original Sopranos went a little social justice in some of the topics that they did. Remember, they had the gay guy. The guy that was the closet gay guy. Yeah. So they did. I mean, they went, like I said, maybe the next one will be transgenders. They'll put in it because, like, but I'm saying, like, they did things on that show that kind of like. I wouldn't really call it for the woke crowd, but it was kind of like shock TV. It's like you don't think that like hey, like our visual picture of the mafia from what we get on TV over the years been like, tough, Italian guys who will kick your ass. It's like you never would have thought like, oh, let's make one of them gay. And like write a few shows around that, which is what they did, but it's like did you ever used to watch Oz?
Oh yeah.
Well, like they did with Oz, they had the the Italian wise guy character. And he got, he was like racist, everything. He ended up getting raped, by the black guy twice. It's just like, you wouldn't really think about doing that to the Italian, like the mafia characters. But it was like kind of funny how the HBO kind of like took the mafia guys and kind of like did some distorted things with them,
It's funny you mention Oz because I've got Chuck Zito coming on this podcast soon, and
ask Chuck Zito about one of the that he told the producers of HBO of Oz that his character could not be raped. Ask him about that.
I actually, I told him that you called him a big fag, and that you said the Hells Angels were all fags too.
Right? Did you tell him that? Well, he knows that's not true.
So he goes, I'll do something. It's a dodgy situation. But speaking of situations, I got to ask you, of course. So again, it seems that Brock Lesnar has retired from the UFC. So do you think this is legitimate, or do you think this is just another work, so to speak?
Well, he's 40 years old, right? We had a fight with DC that he could have. He had 2 money fights. Maybe he just doesn't want to go through camp at that age and fight again. He's not a young guy. He's made a lot of money. He's probably got a lot of money, and he probably figured, well, I could just keep doing the UFC, the WWE stuff, and get paid for doing a minimal amount of, physicality. But he had fights against DC and John Jones on the table, and he's turning them down. I don't think that's a work at all because there were big money fights.
Do you think the UFC starting to fall? Because, obviously, yeah,
absolutely. There's a fascinating article I read. The guy took it down. I don't know why I took it down, but they're talking about the
lovely sip of water.
Well, the pay-per-view model right now on ESPN Plus is like all these big dollars on the back end are not there anymore. And like Conor McGregor, these guys can go to the UFC and wanting $20 million flat for a fight. They're like, they're laughing at me. We don't have that for you. This ESPN Plus thing is not fighter friendly at all. So the big guys, the top guys, are going to have trouble. They're going to have trouble finding money fights in this because let's face facts. Cowboy versus Conor is a money fight. 5 years ago on UFC, they would have put that thing on, and that's a money fight that draws a lot of buys. Now it's like they don't have the guaranteed money to give these guys up front to pull that thing off. So yes, I do think ESPN Plus, and I do think UFC is fading fast, which is why I think like a lot of guys might go to these other organizations, like Bellator and stuff and everything, and if to get money for fights, which they might end up paying them.
Do you think they'll allow CM Punk to fight again, or is he done?
Yeah, who wants to see that?
See, to be honest,
who's he going to fight? I mean, he could fight. They could put him against Dolph Ziggler right now, and if you won the betting markets, I bet you Dolph Ziggler would be favored over him.
I'd honestly think UFC should go intergender and do CM Punk versus Holly Holm
or Cyborg.
Fuck,
honestly, if you got Ronda Rousey, if you got Cyborg versus CM Punk, who are you picking?
See, the thing about Cyborg, that's her name, but she looks like RoboCop.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you about the WWE Hall of Fame, because every year, no matter who goes in, the fat marks, you've never seen a woman naked in real life, say, they shouldn't go in, they don't deserve it. But from my perspective, I think everybody does deserve it on some level, because not everybody's The Rock. I am, and so is Dwayne Johnson, but not everybody's on that level. But I gotta ask you, do you think that Giant Gonzalez, in all seriousness, is Hall of Fame worthy?
Not really. I mean, I've never been a fan of Hall of Fames, and the only reason the Hall of Fame is beneficial to the people that do it, and this is in all sports, is that your price for autographs, like if you're doing appearances and stuff, your price skyrockets. So like you can go out on the circuit, autograph signings and stuff, and as a former professional baseball Hall of Famer or football Hall of Famer, you can make more money, right? pro wrestling, there is no physical Hall of Fame, and the guys are not getting paid any more than what they're doing for autograph sessions if they're in the WWE Hall of Fame or not. They were getting the same price that they were before they were in the Hall of Fame. I know this because I know what I've been to, I've sat with Hall of Famers at autograph signings, and I know what they get for their pictures. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just like a pro wrestling Hall of Fame where there's never been any standards for conduct or anything the person's done outside of it. Yeah, it's just like it's just like how good of a wrestler was this guy on TV, and was he over or not? You know, and then you get put in the Hall of Fame for that. So it's like, if you ever got a pop, it seems like you get in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. But like, I couldn't care less about that stuff, to be honest with you.
But that's kind of my point, though, because just to mention, I'm much more handsome than you are. But with Giant Gonzalez,
that's fake news.
I'll edit that part out. But when Giant Gonzalez made his entrance, he literally got an awe, like a reaction, like whenever I get naked in front of the ladies, they can't believe what they're seeing. And with Giant Gonzalez, like people expect too much of him. They go, "Oh, he stank." It's like, yeah, he was 8 foot tall and he was dangerously diabetic. Like, the guy did what he could. The fact that he could fucking walk.
Do you think that he should be in the Hall of Fame?
I think he should be like the third induction of the night, or the second one in. I don't think he should be.
What did he ever do in his career besides being 8 feet tall?
He had a hairy arse on his tights,
but he never really had any good matches. Never really had a good run. Never had any good angles. Never had. He just went out there and he was just a big tall guy.
He's the first guy to ever have pubic hair on his ring gear. That alone is Hall of Fame worthy.
Well, yeah, you could put that'll be like in the Wrestle Crap Hall of Fame, like one of those things.
Speaking of Wrestle Crap, I've got to ask you about AEW now. For me, and I speak to the king of podcasting, Joe Feeney, about the fact that I think AEW marks have ruined wrestling. And it's nothing to do with the content. It's nothing to do with the shit that WWE does. But it's these AEW guys, and they're clearly all autistic. Stone Cold Steve autism, and they're lonely, and this is their way to make friends, and they don't give a shit, but they're taking it too seriously. They're becoming fucking children again. So,
you ever used to watch, like, if you watch an Adolf Hitler?
I often do.
If you watch an Adolf, you go on YouTube and watch an Adolf Hitler speech. And he's talking to the Hitler Youth, right? And then there's just this sea of kids, and they're all dressed in the military things with the hats and everything and all that. When you like, if you looked at StarCast, if you look at visual pictures from StarCast, and you look at just like there were videos of people showing the lines of people waiting to talk to these wrestlers. They all look exactly the same. Like, the fans all look exactly the same. They all have black T-shirts on. None of them are out of shape. Nobody has a shirt on or a pair of clothing on that costs more than $25. They're just like a collective of kind of disenfranchised youths that are congregating about professional wrestling. It's just like, and like I said, bro, the wrestling crowd is identical to the comic book crowd. The comic book marks look exactly. The comic book conventions look exactly like the wrestling conventions. The fans look exactly the same, and they're just kind of like, antisocial people. They're not really cool. There's no hot girls to be seen, and it's just like we're sitting there saying, like, I want to sit there and say, over the past 20 years, that wrestling. The people that run it and the wrestlers and what they're doing, it's like, this is the crowd you guys have drawn. This is your audience now. You've ran off cool people. You've ran off hot girls. The crowd looks exactly the same at all the shows, indie shows, WWE shows. They all look the exact same. They're all guys. We used to wrestle. There used to be a lot of hot chicks in the crowd. I mean, WWE pans the crowd right now. Show me a Raw where they've shown, like, where they the cameras found a hot girl. Show me an AEW show that does that. Show me any show that does that. It's like this is so few and far between. It's like we used to pan the shots of hot girls all the time and people going crazy and stuff. And now it's just like, wrestling fans are all like seals. They just channel on. They have their wrestling fans cosplay other wrestling fans now. That's what they do. They see the way the fans react to the show, and they go and they react like those fans with the chants and stuff and everything. And that's to me. And I look at the AEW crowd, and that's your audience. That's your crowd. That's your fan base now. It's like, how do we get? Because there's not a lot. You're not going to attract more people into that audience. This is an audience that's not going to grow. How do you grow wrestling's audience and getting more cooler people? Getting more people to come watch it.
But the problem I have with these AEW fans is I'll do a thing on the Keep No 100 YouTube where I'll say, how is everyone today? Good, on a poll option, I'll say good, bad, AEW sucks. And I do that just to get a reaction. And these fucking fans are like, oh, what do you mean? You're just jealous that you don't work there. And it's like, shut the fuck up. It's rubbish. And the problem I have as well is that AEW was praised, the Double or Nothing event was praised for exactly the thing that WWE gets criticized for.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, no, you're not critics. You're just a bunch of fucking nerds, and I hope you don't own guns or vote.
Well, I mean, what you say is not far from the truth. I mean, like the wrestling fans, the wrestling media, they're kind of one and the same, and they're all in this together. They're desperately trying to keep wrestling alive and keep it relevant, keep it because let's just be honest, I mean, outside this bubble, wrestling is fading. AEW is coming, but I mean, wrestling was fading into obscurity. The WWE's ratings on a weekly basis were plummeting. Nearly bottoming out. And that's your audience. That's people that watch wrestling. The majority of wrestling fans watch WWE. That's your main wrestling audience. So the amount of fans that watch Impact, Ring of Honor, all the numbers are minuscule compared to the WWE audience, right? Now you have this AEW audience. It's like, okay, how many of these AEW fans also watch WWE? How many of them hate WWE? About how many of them hate WWE but still watch WWE? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people that criticize WWE on a weekly basis, which means a lot of people are watching a product that they don't like, which is bizarre to me. Usually most people just stop watching. But the AEW, I mean, these, like you said, they're a weird group of people. They've only had one show, and they're talking like this, there's just a big giant false narrative going on right now. That this thing is bigger than it is. And to me, AEW can just as soon be as irrelevant as Ring of Honor is, as it could be bigger than WWE. Which is why I've said all along that group, if they've got balls, they will go head to head with Raw on Monday night, because that's where your wrestling audience lives. They live on Monday night from that time slot, and just a Monday night wrestling audience. There's a lot of people that aren't watching the show right now that would probably watch if there was a better product on. And I think AEW can easily be a better product than WWE, because WWE just does not know what they're doing.
To me, the one thing WWE needs to really do is cut back the show length, because I love the Lord of the Rings.
It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. They get paid too much for that third hour.
And
it's not. And that's the biggest. I mean, bro, we wrote 4 or 5 hours of TV. We wrote 2 shows with 5 people each week. Me, Vince, Ed, Borash, and Terry Taylor, and Bill Banks is in there. And we came up with enough ideas for 5 hours of TV. They go home running, and we met for 7-8 hours. Now, supposedly they have 30, 20-something writers. We had 5. And we did the TV. We wrote the TV every week, and it wasn't that difficult to do. It was difficult sometimes, but you could easily get, we could write stories and stuff and everything for people. There's no excuse for you losing 500, 500,000 viewers from the time the show starts to the time it ends every single week. Because wrestling, the formula used to be the show, when the show was good, the ratings would increase as the show went on. And like WWE's got this formula now where the numbers decrease as the show goes on, and that's all strictly writing. Period. You know that's the way they're writing the show and the way they're keeping the fans interested. And it's just like you know the 3-hour argument to me doesn't make a lot of sense because you can write 3 hours of good TV. The fact that they could do it so infrequently is fascinating.
But it's the fact that the guy who's making the final decisions, he is too old now. Like Vince McMahon probably wakes up in a bad mood because at his age his balls hang so low, and then he's to sit there in the studio like, for God's sakes, my goddamn balls are under my ass, and I'm gonna deal with Dean Ambrose trying to leave the company. Pay him $500, pal. That's what I see. What's wrong with WWE?
Yeah, it is, but I see also that like he probably doesn't have enough people around him coming up with good ideas to have him run with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
speaking of other people who don't have good ideas, do you listen to other wrestling podcasts?
Not during maybe during the summertime I do, but when there's other sports on and stuff, everything, I usually listen to sports podcasts.
Because the thing that gets to me about other podcasts, like Edge and Christian, I met Edge and he was cool as fuck, but like their podcast stinks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just him and Christian agreeing. And then, but the thing I like about K100 is it's actually you and fucking Conan actually having genuine conversations and not trying to kiss anyone's arse or get put over or any of this stuff. I just think that the wrestling podcasts, and not only that, the fact that there's fans who don't work in wrestling but have these wrestling podcasts, it doesn't make sense to me. It'd be like you doing a cookery podcast.
Yeah, dilutes the product. I mean, it's just, like there's no reason. I mean, there's no reason for people that are in wrestling to not listen to our podcast. Okay, Conan is the booker at AAA. He works at Impact. He's got influence here. He's got influence at MLW. It's like, if you're an aspiring wrestler looking to get work, there's no reason why you shouldn't listen to this and see what Conan likes. Because maybe you have something that he likes and then maybe you can get work there at AAA or whatever. So it's like, and I'm obviously, we're not in a big giant echo chamber. We have our own personal opinions, and we worked during a period of time when wrestling was great. Because we have a reference point of what people do to get over, and we were over. Like there's not there's some guys that do this that they were over, but they're too worried about what people think about them on the podcast. I don't care what people think about me. I'm just going to give you my opinion and stuff and everything like that. And Conan's the same way.
But that's what's good about it. I think, especially the Disco Inferno song pick of the week. But just as we get into these last batch of questions here, can you confirm that you almost went to WWE in '97?
No, I did not.
Was that not? Oh, well, fuck.
No, it wasn't. Here was the thing. I had a conversation with Bruce Pritchard. It went south. I don't even know what I said that went wrong, but I was possibly going there, but then I did. I don't know what happened, but then Sting got me back at WCW, so I didn't pursue that anymore.
Yeah. Well, now we've come to the part where these are the last few questions, and two of them I want to ask you are about your career, because I've watched a lot of your shoots, listened to a lot of your shoots, and there's some topics that you haven't really been asked about. So I'm going to ask you about, in late 98, early 99, they did My Gang, the NWO Wolfpack angle, and you were added to them. So what were you told when they said, we're going to put you in this NWO? Because that fucking gimmick could have been enormous, but it seemed to stop that.
They didn't tell me anything. Scott Hall, they would give him stuff to do, and he would say, hey, I'm going to use Disco in this. Like, they weren't even really writing me in any of the segments. Scott Hall would get his stuff for the show and say, hey, I'm gonna use Disco in this, and he's going to do all this. That's how that came to fruition.
What was can you remember what the feeling was like backstage when you're in this new NWO, the reunion storyline, and then Hogan turns around and decides, I want to turn babyface?
Well, we just knew that there was a couple things, a couple big angles got kiboshed because Hogan. The biggest problem that WCW faced back then is they did the NWO, they did the red and black, and they were supposed to do the red and black versus the black and white, and it never took place. And it was just like it was like the whole. It was like season 6 or season 8 of Games of Thrones. They just scrapped it. That's what it was. Seriously, you're building up to this. You know, this group came in. They infiltrated the company. They started their own faction. That faction grew so big it split up, and they were supposed to fight each other and never did. You know, so it's like, and that was because, like, I know that Hogan had something to do with that. He didn't want to, I don't know. It's just, but it was just left. It was, national. Those guys wanted to do it, and like the fans are ready for it. Everybody's ready for it. It never happened. That was, that was months more of TV you could have done. Could have kept the ride, could kept the wave going, but never did. And I ultimately think that was the downfall of WCW, and the momentum that they were getting on the other show with Rock and Austin and stuff. I mean, it was just too much to overcome.
Ridiculous. But I also got to ask, back in '97, you worked a match, controversial behind the scenes match with Miss Jacqueline. And just earlier this year, you've worked with 2 women that I've slept with.
That's fake news.
Tessa Blanchard and Scarlett Bordeaux.
You've not slept with those girls.
I did. I both of them at the same time, and
I find that very hard to believe. And
I had to ask them to leave because I was getting bored of them. But I've got to tell. Well, this is my issue with intergender wrestling. Not the whole men or women aren't equal to men, but what's the whole thing is. In the Me Too era, does it make sense? Because just say you went for a body slam. What happens if you put your hand in the wrong place? So when you're wrestling these women, is that something that's in your mind?
Well, no. It's just I think it's hysterical that basically the whole thing about the intergender stuff is you've trapped the social justice warriors in a paradox here that they can't talk their way out of. It's like they want equality. Okay, well then you're equals the guys. Well, let's wrestle the guys. It's like they're like, okay, yeah. Now you're stuck with simulated violence of a man against a woman, and it's like, okay, but we kind of want this, and we can't do the Me Too stuff. We can't. We can't use that now because we're going towards equality. And it's like you're getting two things here to 2 of their belief systems in competition with each other. And it's just I think it's fascinating that you can go at like that. These fans accept it for what it is because they think that the women are equal to the guys. So I think it's. I don't think about nothing about that. I just because here's the thing. I've trained. When you're a trainer, you train girls. So you have to wrestle. You wrestle with girls all the time. You're training them. You're doing the slam. You're doing everything with them. So what we're seeing on TV is stuff that you see in wrestling schools all the time. Guys and girls are wrestling with each other all the time. That's how it works. So touching the girl improperly or stuff in her in the eye, I've never. It doesn't even cross my mind because if a girl is willing to become a professional wrestler, she's obviously seen what on TV what they do. So this is what we have to do to learn how to do this. Well,
I'll ask Tessa Blanchard about that tonight in bed after all the sex.
Okay. Well, that won't happen. Well, that won't take long.
Well, I know because I'll be saving it for Scarlett Bordeaux. It's Wednesday night.
Tell it, Kevin. I'm going to tell Cross that you're insinuating that you slept with Scarlett Bordeaux. I'm going to repeat that to him. All right.
You tell him that Joe Feeney said that.
Okay, no, you're the one that's saying that. So I'm actually going to send him this.
But I know him better than you. I spoke to him about American Psycho. But we've now come to the 2 questions that I ask everybody, and this is everybody gets asked these regardless of what NWO membership they have. Then we're going to get to the question that's going to change podcasting forever. Don't worry about that. It's coming. So here's the first question. So who is the better band, Queen or the Beatles?
My personal preference is Queen. They have more songs I like than the Beatles.
And plus, you can relate to the lead singer. The Spice Girls are back. Who is your favorite Spice Girl?
Oh, Victoria Beckham.
In 2019?
Is she still on the Spice Girls?
Now she's left, as if you didn't know.
Oh, well, who are the Spice Girls in 2019? I don't know this.
Ginger, Baby, Sporty, and
Are they still the same girls? The 40-year-old girls?
yep, they're doing a stadium tour right now around the UK.
Are they really? Let me look at this here. Spice Girls 2019. Let me see what they look like.
Anybody listening to this, the video footage of Disco's reaction will go on YouTube.
All right, so we got Spice Girls 2019 images. Let's see here. Well, they look good. I'd say the one with the pink hair. Which one's that? I don't know who that is.
Baby Spice?
Maybe that's Baby Spice. Yeah, she looks the hottest.
That is the correct answer. Baby Spice is the best Spice Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she looks like she knows her way around the sandwich, and that's what we need.
Right.
It is now time, Disco, for the question that's going to change podcasting forever.
All right.
Are you prepared for this?
Yeah, but I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to change podcasting forever.
Okay, now you might as well text Conan, text Vince that the game's about to change. So
Okay.
Here is the question that's about to change podcasting forever. Who let the dogs out?
And where are they at?
And why aren't people looking after these dogs and searching for them?
Conan let the dogs out, and the Mexicans are very they're not very responsible, so they let the dogs out and the dogs got away. That was Hoovy, Conan, Psychosis, Ray. The Mexicans are the ones that let the dogs out.
They were filthy animals, and they should also come up with a name for their faction.
Right. I'm gonna play this. We're gonna play this on the podcast. That when you ask the question that will change podcasting forever, and I'm pretty certain that will be kazooed by Conan.
When are you recording?
We already recorded. We'll be doing this next week.
Oh, so I'll have this.
Yeah. You'll edit this out?
Oh no, the podcast will be out before then.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play clips of this, and Conan can comment. Conan is gets very upset that you keep sending in emails and keep promoting Hughie Hello.
I would never do that.
It seems like you do it every week.
That's a false narrative. That's a false anti-Irish narrative being pushed by racist America. But listen.
Let me tell you. Well, wait. You got a lot of This is the UK, right? You have a lot of people that listen from the UK.
To Keeping It 100.
No, your podcast.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give a prediction now for the. When does this drop? This show.
This would be Monday.
Oh, Monday. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna give a prediction. Oh wait, it's dropping Monday. Isn't the freaking the Champions League on Saturday?
Probably I don't watch that shit.
You don't watch it? Well, I was gonna tell all your fans that I'm supporting Liverpool in that game.
Did you hear Dean Ambrose's joke about what Vince said about Liverpool?
No, what did he say?
For God's sake, it sounds like a disease.
Liverpool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're jealous of my friendship with Conan, but
you don't have a friendship with Conan.
We're practically brothers, and I just want to. Well, you know he's Irish, don't you?
He's not Irish.
He has an Irish surname.
Yeah, but that's because his stepfather was Irish.
Conan O'Brien.
No, Mr. Ashen.
Listen, I just want to thank you, Disco, because it's fucking Dave Meltzer was being a dick, and he kept fucking up my schedule, and you did a favor. You're a good paisan.
What did Dave Meltzer do to fuck up your schedule?
He's cancelled on me. I think it's nearly 16 times.
How come he keeps canceling on you?
because he's a mark. He's probably trying to suck Chris Jericho's dick. He's probably like watching AEW on a loop on 7 different screens at once.
Let me ask you a question. I wonder what's going to happen here, since Meltzer's kind of like openly promoting AEW. Is what are they going to do? What is Meltzer going to do when he has to give when he starts mentioning that, like, people start asking him, hey, what's better, Double or Nothing or Wrestle Kingdom? And he'll say, like, oh, Wrestle Kingdom. What's he gonna do when he has to turn on that fan base, because he's gonna stay true to he has to stay true to Japanese wrestling? When people ask him, like, questions like that, compare AEW to New Japan,
But that's actually a good point you make. Is that AEW is supposed to be all woke, and they should actually change their name to SJW.
Right.
And so, what do you call that female politician, Cortez, ACO?
Oh, AOC.
AOC. She was tweeting Cody Rhodes going, he knows about respect and racism, all this. It's like, yeah, he was hanging out backstage with convicted rapist Mike Tyson. and all
Yeah.
And all the top guys in AEW are rich white millionaires.
Right.
So, diversity my balls.
Right. That's the thing. There are some interesting narratives that are open for debate still. That's the thing. There's a lot. All these. There's a lot of things that are open for debate in professional wrestling, and I'm one of the guys that will always. I'll start the debates because I have questions, I have theories, I have opinions, and I present those opinions out there because they're usually like outside the box. Like right now, I just think this thing that wrestling is going to go through another boom period. It's like I just do not see any of the factors in place for that. And then the main factor being is that 20 years ago, the median age, not the average age, the median age of the wrestling fan, meaning the one right in the middle, that half the fans were on this side and half the fans were on this side. The median age was 27 years old in like the year 2000. Okay? You know what the median age of the wrestling fan is in the year 2019?
No.
Just take a wild guess what that number is.
I've got to say 30.
It's like 52.
Oof.
Okay? So what's happening is, if you just look at this from a very logical, simplistic standpoint, okay, is that as that age increases, what's happening is you're not getting a lot of new young fans. And all your fans are now like dying. Because like as the thing moves, it's like you're pushing fans away. So like not a lot of new fans are coming in, and you're pushing the median age of the fans. Like as they're getting older, they're all stuck on watching wrestling, which is why I still say that WWE should hit that 9:00 Monday night, audience, because there is half of your fans that still watch wrestling, even though they're over 55 years old. They're still glued to that TV slot. Which is why I think that's where you should go. There's not a lot of young fans in wrestling anymore. The fans, like the young fans in wrestling, all are alike. They all look the same. And so, but your TV viewer is watching it. That they're older. So I don't know. We'll see.
How much do you weigh?
205 pounds.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I weigh 220.
Are you really? You're a fat slob.
How tall are you?
5'11".
I'm 6'2". Right. I want to fight.
That's fake news. I don't believe that at all.
I want to fight Disco Inferno at me and Chuck Zito versus you and 2 strippers.
No, I'll take you on in a Dublin street fight.
Excellent. By the way, did you bang Kiss of Sins?
No.
Oh.
That was a joke.
Oh, fuck. Well, that's a shame. Looks like a good time based on the footage I've seen, and I've seen a lot of footage.
Yeah.
Okay,
but she played along with me for that, but see how easy it is to get people to believe stuff these days.
Because we know
the coolest girls that come to the Benatar Club are that do like they're very outgoing and cool. Kiss of Sins is definitely one of them. She's super cool. Alexis Moreau is super cool. Adriana Chechik is super cool. Nicolette Shea was cool, and Victoria June was just she was cool. She was cool. Most of the other girls are just kind of like stuck up, boring, and everything. But those girls are like cool and fun. Like they're good. They're cool girls.
You banging them?
No.
You getting any sniz?
No.
From anyone?
No.
Oh well, we're
wait, in what now?
From anyone?
What am I banging anyone?
Yeah.
Oh no, I got a few girls that I mess around with every now and then. I don't have a girlfriend right now though.
What about Darren Young?
No.
Okay, well, you never know. But listen, Disco, I really do want to thank you for your time. You're a good guy. You're my favorite podcaster to listen to, despite Conan's bad attitude. It's the Disco Inferno show.
What about Joe Troller?
He's a fucking. See, the thing about him, he said one of the funniest lines I've ever seen. He said about Bailey.
Uh-huh.
He said, he says, Bailey seems like the type of girl. He said, Bailey seems like the type of girl who would take it up the ass on the first night of meeting her, but wouldn't take her socks off.
That's actually pretty funny.
It is, but then he says this racist shit, and you just think, because
it's too much, right? Yeah, he's like just an unfiltered troll,
But I think whoever it is, I think he has 3 or 4 accounts, because there's a super liberal guy now in the comments. There's Joe Troller. Then there's a really pro gay rights guy person, and they're all leaving comments one after another. So it's got to be him.
Right.
Is it you?
No, not me at all.
Let's see. But yeah, I'm definitely going to thank you this time. This was great, because I'm taking a break for the summer. And what are you going to do today for the rest of the day?
I'm getting my hair cut and I'm getting my teeth cleaned.
Nice. Well, whatever you do, don't go see the new Godzilla. It's crap.
I'm going to go see it for sure.
You'll love it.
I will love it. I'm a big fan of Godzilla movies.
Well, this one doesn't have Puff Daddy at the end.
All right, we'll see.